Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Tori Flood. We're going to be talking about the power of AI and really focused on how it can fuel both revenue growth and cost efficiency today. So I want to start off with just sort of a very positive trend. I just returned from a major healthcare IT conference called HIMSS in Vegas, and almost every single session either touched on AI, was focused on AI, was directly talking about a use case. And if you really couldn't be more hit in the face with every way people are talking about AI, and you would be forgiven for thinking that you might be behind. But one of the things I think it's really important to understand, according to Boston Consulting Group, just 4% of companies have actually developed cutting edge AI capabilities and have started to generate significant value with it. So by in no means are any of us behind yet. So continuing on with that theme, 4% of companies that have realized value already by 2024. The next larger bubble, about 22% of companies have an actual strategy and some gain. So think a couple of use cases in production that they're starting to see some value from. And that leaves about 88% of businesses who have not implemented AI, don't necessarily have a use case first. So suffice it to say, we're going to be talking to those 88% of companies today because we know there's many of them out there, a major total addressable market. And the important thing to understand is that really none of us are behind. And today we're going to really focus on how to get started in an easy and simple way. So we talk about a very simple unlocking AI framework, simple 3 steps. The first is to understand a desirable use case. We'll talk more about what some of those might be in a second. The second is to consider your data availability, where you have data, how it's accessible, how organized is it, and the like. Now, be aware that you don't have to have your data house in order. Chris Bussey's going to talk a little bit more about that, but just a high level of understanding of how you could connect a potential use case with the data that you already have is going to be enough to get started. The third is really the area where Zennify comes in, and this is the agile teams process. This is really, really important for focusing on rapid experimentation and iteration, the ability to adapt to changing requirements and bring the entire organization along with you while you do it. That cross-functional collaboration is extremely critical for demonstrating value. So let's start with your desirable use cases. McKinsey has done some of the hard lifting for us. They claim that there are 4 key areas that most of the value from AI can begin. Those include customer operations, marketing and sales, software engineering, and research and development. I know that sounds like a lot, so let's double click on a little bit about the ones that are a little more fruitful than others. So contact center automation, as you can see here, is one of the biggest areas. 26% of companies have adopted use cases in that area. Next, we have a couple of areas in marketing and sales, personalization and customer acquisition, followed by some of your R&D and product development, software engineering areas down here, creation of AI-based products, etc. So this really gives you, there's a lot you can do looking at internal and external stakeholders, but this gives you a really nice glass lens on where you should be focused on those initial use cases to be deriving value as quickly as you can. So let's take a look at those 22% of companies that we talked about that McKinsey has told us that they're actually getting value. And this is a really interesting report. I'll actually share a link to this when we start the chat. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to say, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A forum. I'll either try and answer them as we go through, or we'll leave some time at the end to answer those. But if you take a look here, in surface operations, 54% saw cost reductions, 57% on revenue increases. And I want to just mention that in most cases, those cost reductions and revenue increases were anywhere between 5 and 20%. So they were not significant in a lot of cases, and which is why I'll share the chart with you. It's a bit of an eye chart, but it's worthwhile looking at. It's really, really critical to understand that an AI use case leveraged in the right way can do 2 things for you. Not only can it reduce cost, but it can also increase revenue. And I think that's really, really critical in a business environment where we really have to be aware of the ROI of every single dollar that we spend and every cycle that we spend. So let's take a look at data. Ali Gadshi, CEO of Databricks, was quoted saying that essentially he feels like AI is going to be essential. We kind of know that from the beginning statements about how much we're hearing about it and reading about it. But he feels like the true value really, really lies within the data that fuels the AI. So, for example, you are able to leverage AI only as a tool. It's really the data behind it that's going to be able to give you significant value, significant competitive advantage. And this is where we need to make that jump from publicly available data, such as things in ChatGPT, to systems and organizations' own data, where that can be mined for AI insights and AI actions and use cases. And that's what we're going to be talking more about. That's where the significant value comes in. So, in summary, AI is a tool, but data is the fuel for that tool. Mr. Godshi feels very much that AI will be table stakes. Every single company at some point will be using it, but it's the ones who have organized and democratized their data who are going to be seeing significant value. So let me just take a quick minute. Who's Zennify? Some of you are new to us, so I appreciate you joining today. Zennify is a very different company in 2025 than it was earlier. Starting out as a Salesforce platform services company, number one in commercial fins for Salesforce. They acquired a company called Terazo, where myself and some of my colleagues on the call today came from, really to focus on data engineering and API integration. So the data engineering and the AI and digital workforce services are a major focus for us in 2025 for the collective Zennify company. In addition to that, the purchase of Terazo brought along the number one Twilio partner in North America. So you can see a trend here. We've got Salesforce, we've got Twilio, we've got data engineering and Databricks. So we've got a lot of partners that we can bring to bear to rapidly deploy AI use cases, and we're purpose-built to do just that. So let's take a look at our partner tech stack here. So starting bottom up, obviously Databricks, one of our major data partners, we work with others, but Databricks is really important to us, is our data foundation. We then work around data democratization and orchestration on through user data layer with Salesforce and Twilio. So we've got this AI layer in here with multiple solutions across the Salesforce ecosystem. And then up here in delivered communications is where our relationship with Twilio really comes into play. Multi-channel, AI-enabled things for sales and service, customer automation, etc. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our plan for today. This is not in particular order, so we're going to start with Chris Bussey, who is the co-founder of Terazo, who's going to talk to us about some of the pitfalls, some of the reasons why only 4% are sitting in that significant value bucket. Then we're going to hear from Mike Blakeney about exactly how to drive through an unlocking AI workshop and how that process will work. And then Manveer is going to take us through some real life use cases of how we've deployed AI in production already. And I'm Tori, so let's get started.
Thank you, Tori. My name is Chris Bussey, and we're going to kick off here this section talking about enterprise data maturity. I think if you've been around the enterprise data space for a while, like we have here, this chart shouldn't come as a surprise. But I think if we look back 10 years, 5 years, even 3 years ago, a lot of it was these first 3 steps, right? Do you have good data management? Have you broken down your silos? Do people in your enterprise understand how to find the data? And then can they find it and use it efficiently? And then I think what I like to think of as the step between 2 and 3 here is, does your enterprise have confidence in your data? Because once you have confidence in your data, you can apply business intelligence and analytics, essentially you put your money where your mouth is, you're putting your money where your data is. So anytime I was giving webinars or things like that before March of 2023, when ChatGPT 3.5, kind of slapped us all in the face and said, whoa, we need to reevaluate data strategies, we were largely focused on these first 3 and then working to get people towards 4 on platforms like Salesforce or the Segment CDP and things like that, where you can really personalize for every customer. Now, some enterprises, like enterprises that wanted to do something with voice to text and text to voice contact centers with tools like Google Dialogflow CX, would be already working in innovation through AI or ML. And we're going to talk about one of those customers in a moment here. But the interesting thing, Tori said, I think that 4% stat of, people are not behind. One of the things that we've seen already is sometimes organizations that did a very good job getting through 1, 2, 3, maybe they didn't get to 4 yet, but they have like a good, a data warehouse or a data lake. Sometimes they still have to go back and look at, when they're evaluating AI, is that going to support the new needs that we now need to address to stay competitive in the markets that we're operating in? And part of the reason for this is with AI, there's different kinds of databases, like vector databases, that can be important for certain AI uses. Another reason is because there's a lot of areas in AI where getting to first principles data, like file system directories of PDF, cardholder agreements or account agreements or commercial contracts, can really inform the AI there. So as these new use cases are being spun up with the advent of the generative AI, the LLMs, and everything that's going forward, even an organization that has gone pretty far along this data maturity curve, it would behoove them to kind of look back and not just say like, oh, we have a data warehouse or a data lake, or we're planning a data mesh, and think that that's going to get them where they need to be for the AI. So with that, Tori, let's go to the next slide here. So I like this because this really quantifies, I think, the previous slide, right? So if somebody is trying to get over organizational inertia and build that momentum towards a really cutting edge AI program, what is holding an enterprise back? Now, we've highlighted this technical implementation as being the overall sum of the top 3 from all the respondents in this Gartner survey. And we call it to mind the gap between proof of concept and production. I think if we look down this list, we'll see some things that are endemic for any kind of enterprise IT program. Measuring value. Can you go into your AI initiative knowing how to calculate the ROI? Or are you addressing new customer journeys or new processes where you have to come up with some, fresh thinking around how that AI, that ROI is driven? And so you can digest this when Tori sends out the slides at the end of the presentation here. Let's go to the next slide, Tori. I really like this one, this dependencies to speed with AI, right? We talked a little bit about around existing technology infrastructure and accessibility of data sources. So those are kind of very technical things. The next two here, the organizational mindset and the leadership buy-in, are part and parcel with each other, I think. And so I'm going to share a little story about one of our Twilio customers that has been with us for, probably 7 years now. They're called Prime Street, and this is a publicly referenceable case study that I can share. And at Prime Street, they're a real estate marketing company. And rather than get paid per lead that's generated, they actually seek to get paid per closed home sale. And having been working with Twilio SMS, Twilio Voice contact centers for years, they got to a point where they had like tens of thousands of leads that were basically had gone cold. Maybe somebody thought they were going to buy a house because they were relocating, and then they got corporate housing, and so they didn't need to get that house. And so, aside of desk work, the contact center agents would just compose SMS messages to these customers and try to reignite them. The take rate on that wasn't all that great. So we did a workshop with them, which I think Mike Blakeney will be talking about that workshop methodology here shortly. And we brought everybody who was a stakeholder for this in the room together, from contact center agents, contact center managers, marketing copywriters, all the way up to the VP, who was the funder. So we were able to have the leadership sitting in a room with the actual, front of house or frontline doers there in the organization, and work through a customer journey workshop where we identified that these stale leads, we built a multi-agent system. So one agent would look at the lead and then write the SMS message that it believed had the highest likelihood of re-engaging that customer. And then the other one would check, because real estate is a regulated industry, especially in what you can say when you market something. And it's one of those things where you can't just codify that. There's, when you start to get into let's just call it stereotyping of people and messages that might be attempting to play to a stereotype, you need to be very careful not to send those kind of messages out. And so let's go to the next slide, because we put this into market and we got this into production within 5 weeks at a relatively low cost relative to their overall multi-million-dollar a year engagement program that we work with them on. We very quickly saw a 2x increase in the prospect re-engagement response rate. And this is coming off of 6,000 outbound SMS that were sent via this multi-agent solution. And this caused 4,800 prospects to re-engage with the AI. One thing I like about this, though, and a real credit to both the organization and the team, is they didn't just turn it on and start blasting out these. They started with 100 and they'd have somebody manually review it. And then they went to the next 100. And it kind of worked out like a Pareto. The first time the AI came up with 80 really good ones and 20 that were not that good. And so those were manually reviewed. We tweaked the agent, the human in the loop there, so they didn't go out right away. The next time it was, we tried 1,000, and I believe it was 988 were good and 12 had some kind of issue. The third time we did that, it was cruising along at 100%. And so by going through this initial it wasn't just a proof of concept, it was a real AI program. It really shifted both the leadership and the organizational mindset, because they went into this knowing how they were going to measure it. They saw an actual lift in response rate, and then they gained confidence as an organization in how to look at other AI initiatives, and they've just kind of gone off to the races there. So Tori, I'll hand the mic back to you. Tori, I think you might be on mute.
I'm muted. Mike, it's you anyway.
Fantastic. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the AI workshop now. And so, to effectively prepare for that AI initiative, it's important to adopt a strategic and human-centered approach. This involves choosing use cases that deliver clear, tangible benefits to end users. So it's vital to pinpoint those solutions where AI can significantly enhance user experiences and outcomes for both individuals or groups. So by focusing on these impactful applications, we're going to be able to ensure that our AI efforts are in tune with the real-world demands and provide meaningful advantages. So like we heard from Chris, aligning on results first matters. Our approach prioritizes identifying a central use case that demonstrates rapid return on investment. By focusing on quick value realization, we ensure that our AI initiatives deliver tangible benefits promptly, reinforcing the strategic objectives of your business. So to smooth your path to seamless AI implementation, you can leverage our comprehensive roadmap that begins with identifying a pivotal use case. If you already have one, that's excellent. Our focus will be on aligning it with your strategic objectives and desired outcomes. If not, you can benefit from our UX design workshop, which is crafted to uncover and define use cases that align with your business goals, laying a foundation for strong, successful AI integration. So if your organization already has that known use case, you're ahead of the curve. This indicates that you're aware of where AI can add value. You have data readily available to support this effort, and there's a clear, albeit rough, metric for measuring success. Your next move is to fine-tune these insights and get ready for implementation. On the other hand, if you're unsure and your use case isn't defined, there's no need to worry, because with the UX workshop session, it becomes invaluable for you. So we use a human-centered design approach, and we help you explore potential use cases through ideation, user research, and journey mapping. And this process aids in developing viable options that align with your objectives. The primary goal is for you to select the use case that provides the highest value with the least effort. This ensures your team is well prepared to proceed with subsequent AI workshop with a clear purpose in mind. So let's zoom in on that UX discovery workshop. Now, as technology leaders, it's crucial for you to ensure that your innovation aligns with the user needs and business goals. The UX discovery session is designed to achieve this alignment with a structured, insightful process. During the workshop, you will leverage user research and delve deep into understanding the behaviors, motivations, and challenges of your target users. This informs the next step, persona development, when you create detailed profiles representing user segments, helping you to tailor solutions effectively. You will engage in journey mapping, which involves plotting out the user's interaction path with your product or service and identifying touch points that are right for enhancement through technology. Process mining is another critical component that allows you to visualize and analyze real data from your systems to uncover inefficiencies and opportunities for automation or AI driven improvements. And finally, use case identification synthesizes all of these insights to pinpoint the most viable and impactful areas for innovation. This methodical approach ensures that when you proceed to development, you're not guessing, but moving forward with clarity and purpose. So, building on this roadmap, we have the use case. And now we can focus on the 5 pillars of AI discovery. And this is going to ensure a comprehensive approach throughout the entire AI lifecycle. We start with objectives definitions to establish clear goals and align your strategic vision. We conduct data assessments to evaluate the data landscape in support of your objectives. We implement a responsible AI assessment to ensure ethical and compliant AI deployment. And then our solution design customizes technology solutions to your defined needs effectively. And lastly, we help you develop an AI ops strategy to create a sustainable operational framework that's going to enable continuous improvement and value delivery. This structured approach empowers your organization to unlock AI's full potential. So, that first pillar, objectives definition, emphasizes the importance of clearly establishing the metrics and measures of success for your AI initiative. These objectives may arise from our UX workshop or your internal efforts. So, as you advance, ensure your technical plans consistently align with these objectives, grounding your efforts in delivering a tangible business value. And it guarantees that the technology serves your strategic goals and not the other way around. So, some of the main takeaways here are: start with a clear use case. You want to begin with a defined use case, either existing or something developed through a UX discovery session. Establish clear objectives, identifying that key performance indicators, service level agreements, and metrics to measure success. Get alignment on technical plans to make sure all the technical developments are consistently aligned with strategic objectives. Anchor in on the business value so we can concentrate on how technology initiatives will drive real business outcomes. And then ensure strategic alignment, which utilizes the objectives to guide the AI development, keeping the technology focused on delivering value for the entire process. The second pillar is data assessment. And like Tori said, data is what's going to set you apart from everyone else. So this involves generating a comprehensive report from workshops and internal analysis. This report provides you with strategic recommendations for data management, including architecture, preparation, and potentially new opportunities derived just from exploring data that you may have never seen before. These insights are crucial for ensuring that your AI initiatives are built on a solid foundation and maximizes value. So some of the areas that we would explore include data strategy recommendations, where we put together guidance on aligning your data management practices with organizational goals to ensure the effective use of data resources. Data architecture recommendations, making suggestions for structuring your data systems and platforms to efficiently support data initiatives. Data preparation recommendations, where we look at best practices for cleaning, organizing, and preparing your data to ensure accuracy and readiness for AI applications. And looking up those possible new opportunities. We get those insights into new business ventures or enhancement and identified right out of the data analysis so we can leverage continually your existing data. So here's an example of what that AI assessment and readiness framework might look like. We see a classic areas of people, processes, and technology. So under people, we may look at things like your AI literacy and skills gap analysis, where we evaluate your institution's workforce to identify skill gaps, data science, machine learning, and AI governance. For processes, we explore risk management, AI oversight to identify frameworks to be able to monitor AI decision making for biases, errors, and regulatory risks. And lastly, we take a look at your data maturity and quality, where we assess the data accessibility, its cleanliness, and the overall readiness for AI modeling. And even more, here's an automated tool that we often use with Salesforce, where it helps leverage with qualitative and quantitative methods. You see here that the tool helps with things like process analytics, where we analyze and map your customer service workflows. It helps justify your AI investment with hard data and also be able to monitor and optimize that AI performance. The third pillar is a responsible AI assessment, and this involves generating a report that aligns with industry standards and offers considerations and recommendations that focuses on fairness, privacy, security, inclusiveness, reliability, and transparency. These elements are crucial for ensuring that your AI deployment is ethical, secure, and trustworthy, thus meeting both regulatory requirements and societal expectations. The report is based on industry standards and includes considerations and recommendations around privacy and security to ensure that personal data is protected, we're maintaining confidentiality, and preventing unauthorized access or misuse. We look at fairness, where we promote non-discriminatory and equitable operation of your AI systems by minimizing biases, preventing unjust outcomes through comprehensive design and evaluation, and help foster inclusive practices to protect against both direct and indirect harm. So here's an example of that AI responsibility framework and evaluation. Each area records notes and actions that can be taken to help prioritize the work and effort. So for example, in the privacy and security section, we've achieved in this particular example strong compliance with regulatory frameworks like GDPR and FINRA, minimizing data collection to essential information only, and implementing automated deletion protocols. And so we noted that we've ensured data is securely handled and retained just as long as necessary. The fourth pillar is our solution design, and it centers on creating a comprehensive production-ready architecture for your projects. Now, this includes developing essential artifacts like architecture diagrams, building block diagrams, and all of this encompasses supporting services such as APIs, front-end applications, and integrations. You'll explore strategies for experimentation, A/B testing, ensuring robust validation of your solutions. Additionally, you'll receive a high-level implementation roadmap to outline the time and scope required for successful application development. So some of these activities include AI solutions to consider. So we'll look at all the different solution options and evaluate AI technologies and approaches that can address your specific use case and business needs. We'll produce the diagrams, such as visual representations of the system architecture, where we'll look at the context and container views to enhance your understanding of the communication that's going on in the architecture. Building blocks that include supporting services for understanding the core components of your solution, like APIs, front-end apps, and integrations with other services that are needed for seamless operation. We'll talk with you about experimentation frameworks, getting guidelines and structures for conducting tests and experiments, such as A/B testing, and to optimize your AI solutions. And then a high-level implementation roadmap, like we mentioned before, which will be an overview of the timeline and scope that you need to effectively get alignment on your project goals. And that last pillar, your AI ops strategy. It's essential for managing AI applications in production, especially given the complexities of generative AI. Unlike traditional deterministic software, generative AI depends on probabilistic models, which means the same input can give any number of variable outputs. The dynamic nature is what makes it both powerful and challenging to run in production. So your approach should involve developing a robust AI ops strategy that covers governance, experimentation, data preparation, data tuning, validation, and deployment. You must ensure comprehensive monitoring and support to maintain optimal performance and the adaptability of your system in a production environment. So some of the elements that you should explore here include governance, where we establish policies and frameworks to ensure that the AI models are used ethically and meet regulatory standards. Experimentation for implementing structured testing methods to innovate and optimize your AI models effectively. Model tuning and validation, so we can adjust and verify models to ensure accuracy and performance alignment with your business objectives. And then we look at the full solution deployment, how you can execute a complete rollout of the AI solution into a production environment and ensure seamless integration operation. And then the monitoring and supporting, which will provide ongoing oversight and assistance to maintain that AI solution, proactively addressing any issues for reliability. So here's an example of an observability tool where it's giving insight into every interaction that's happening between the AI model and the end user. Without something like this, you have no visibility into what your AI bot is saying to your customers. In conclusion, your organization is well positioned to effectively harness the power of AI through a comprehensive approach centered around these 5 pillars. By starting with an objectives definition and data assessment, you establish a solid foundation. A responsible AI assessment ensures you uphold ethical standards and maintain trust with your customers. Solution design provides you with robust production ready architectures. And finally, your AI ops strategy offers a framework for seamless deployment and continuous operation. Each pillar works in harmony to align AI initiatives with your strategic goals, guaranteeing the technology serves your business needs. By adopting this structured pathway, your organization is set to unlock AI's full potential, driving transformative growth and innovation. Now I'm going to pass it off to Manveer.
Thanks, Mike. That was a great overview of the workshop and the value that can be delivered. Just a little bit of additional background. Zennify focuses primarily in the financial services space, and we've been doing so for 10 years. And one of the advantages that we've developed over the years is we've hired people from banks and credit unions to help deliver solutions. And we have amazing people like Joe Thomas, who is the former CIO of PenFed Credit Union, as part of our board. And so we bring a lot of the, not just the technical expertise and the capabilities, but understanding the banking, credit union, wealth management, insurance, business context, including the regulatory environment. And Mike touched on that a little bit, and how critical that is to, having AI with trust. So we've been on this AI journey with our customers for, probably 3+ years. And there's definitely been a lot of hesitation. I think that's been one of the biggest challenges. Now, some of that is simply due to the fact that there's so much innovation that's happening. Things seem to be changing every day, and that makes things difficult for regulated industries that tend to deploy things in a very meticulous fashion. So that pace of innovation definitely makes it challenging. And then you definitely have the regulatory environment, which also makes it challenging. But the beauty of these AI solutions, and we'll talk a little bit more about those, is that it does enable sort of rapid innovation, the ability to experiment and try things and learn and understand not just the technology, but just how your organization and your customers and members can interact with that technology. So if you move to the next slide, there's kind of a continuum that's developing. A lot of our early efforts working with banks and credit unions was really along the lines of do it yourself, which is where we were moving transactional customer service inquiries, things that were ordinarily handled by bankers, service professionals, and trying to transition some of that to a self-service model using, digital tools like account opening tools, for example, so that customers can open an account autonomously on their own. As some of the AI solutions started to develop, such as, Microsoft Copilot, for example, or, OpenAI, we now had the advantage of AI-powered copilots and assistants that can help bankers, really help customers and members, right? Sift through information. There's often information overload at our banking and credit union and wealth customers. And so being able to sort of sift through that information and get easy answers in a very conversational fashion to improve sales and service. But what we're really progressing to is a do-it-for-me model, where it is more autonomous in nature, where the AI can anticipate needs and take actions proactively and autonomously, again, in a very sort of regulated, monitored fashion, but in a way where there isn't as much human involvement in the actual configuration of that. So jumping to the next slide, what we're going to do is talk about some of the use cases. And a lot of the use cases that we've worked on with our customers have been more in the do it with me category. And that's simply because of, how the technology's evolved. And also, again, some of the regulatory concerns with autonomous agentic AI in particular. But these are kind of 4 or 5 areas of functionality. Personalization is an incredible area for AI, where we're driving use cases around cross-sell and having the AI sort of look at the data and make recommendations to the bankers around next best action to help them serve customers and position offers for customers. Auto-generated customer segmentation is another key capability that we've delivered on. So if you think about that same category for do it for me, now you start to move into a motion where agentic AI kicks in, where, you know, an agent can sort of deliver that personalized experience and do it autonomously based on things like segments or life cycles or persona-driven experiences. So that's, again, the sort of the progression. And so similar on the customer engagement side, we've developed solutions around, you know, helping bankers assist their customers, you know, call quality monitoring, call scoring, AI-based sentiment scoring. So these are incredible tools to help, you know, service professionals and call centers, you know, automate some of the functionality, but progressing from that to proactive service, where the AI can recognize potential service cases, service incidents before they happen, and can address that autonomously with customers. On the operational efficiency front, this is where, you know, a ton of value comes in terms of time savings. You know, again, a lot of our customers are Salesforce customers, and the challenge that, you know, they've had over the years is maybe over customization of Salesforce, knowledge overload. So the AI powered assistants like Agentforce in particular is doing a fantastic job of providing summaries and insights and making it easier as far as that employee experience to sift through that information, providing content and knowledge. Oftentimes the content sources are unstructured content, for example, compliance content, or very, you know, detailed product information that might be sitting out in SharePoints or various sources or throughout Salesforce. So being able to ground that data and provide it to the bankers in a very like seamless fashion, where they can simply ask questions, you know, just like you would interact with OpenAI, you know, to get easy answers. It's a similar environment here within the banking space, but transitioning to a do it for me, where, you know, you're able to start to enable agents that can not only, you know, determine what that information is or what that offer needs to be, but then to proactively send that to customers via email, and again, in autonomous fashion, and be able to respond to customers. So an awesome migration. And last but not least, on the security and risk front, you know, we're leveraging AI to, you know, help with regulatory and compliance, but also fraud detection, right, in an internal sort of employee facing fashion. But our latest innovation, for example, with the retail banking agent, is where the agent can start to interact with the customer autonomously where fraud has been detected, right, to be able to service that customer in a proactive fashion, or in a fashion where they're coming to the bank's website, you know, and inquiring about something that may or may not have happened. So these are all really good examples. And so now we're going to sort of jump to the next slide, but we'll talk about, you know, some real use cases. And so what's interesting about what Mike presented on the workshop is there's various ways to arrive at these use cases. And in the use cases we're going to talk about here, really it was a combination of, you know, interviews we did with executives. Oftentimes there was already a major initiative across the bank or credit union or wealth management to address a particular metric. For example, we want to be able to improve customer service. We want to be able to respond to customers in a faster way, or we want to be able to reduce the cost, you know, of our overhead in our call center. So we can tap into those sort of tops down driven initiatives that are very outcomes based, KPI based. And then there's also the process analytics that Mike referenced, where you can leverage tools like Hubble, for example, that can sort of read into your Salesforce instance and determine whether there's bottlenecks, for example, in customer service. So we use combinations of these methods to arrive at the use case. In this particular case, it's a $25 billion bank, where really the bankers are inundated with questions and support inquiries coming in, and the amount of information, you know, that is available in Salesforce when you pull up an opportunity or a case, it's just a bit overloading. And it's a matter of being able to sift through that information fast, summarize that information, and respond to the customer fast. And so we've been able to do this in a period of 4 weeks, where we've been able to, you know, leverage Agentforce, which is Salesforce's latest, greatest autonomous agentic AI, to provide those summaries and really be able to enable the bankers to respond to the customers faster, more accurately. And now we're progressing towards agentic AI, where the agent can actually communicate on behalf of the customer autonomously. So this is a fantastic example of that continuum I shared earlier. Moving to the next slide, it's an example of a retail bank. And so we've developed a retail banking agent that really is embedded within the digital experience for a bank and their website, as well as other digital tools they have. And it's able to interact with the customer, where the customer can ask questions, get sort of real-time responses, there'd be proactive engagement. So this is really an example of that do it for me paradigm shift. And this has a huge potential to reduce call volumes. In some cases, with some of the C-level leaders we've talked to, that call avoidance to the tune of 30%. So you can imagine the time savings and the cost savings that can be driven. And it doesn't mean that you're going to take those folks and, you know, lay them off. It's that now that they can go spend time on higher value interactions, for example, advisory, being able to offer additional banking products, you know, based on context that they're getting from the summaries that they're seeing inside of Salesforce. So this is an incredible innovation that we've developed on the retail banking front. And then last but not least, if you go to the next slide, in the wealth space, one of our customers is a leading provider of services to mid-sized RIAs, broker-dealers, you know, managing billions of dollars in assets, helping with custody, clearing, and technology driven services. And so in this case, the advisors, really similar use case, struggling with data overload, you know, routine inquiries coming in around tax-related questions, having to sift through, you know, a lot of information, you know, I'll get back to you in a couple of days after I've done my research. So we've enabled Salesforce, again, in this case, powered by Agentforce, to be able to summarize information across various Salesforce objects to allow those advisors to, you know, come up with those answers faster, respond to, you know, their broker dealer, mid-sized RIA partners faster, so that ultimately those RIAs can service the customer faster. So you're improving self-service, you're improving customer service, and ultimately improving engagement, so that those advisors and those RIAs can focus on those higher sort of value conversations. And so from there, I will transition it back to Tori.
Sorry about that, still on mute. Thanks very much, everyone. I want to just, as I'm talking about a couple final points here, open it up for questions. We do have a little bit of time for questions, so if you can go ahead and post them in the Q&A box, then we can make sure we can address them. So just today is about making things easy and accessible. So we really wanted to kind of boil down a couple of ways to get started. Whether it's getting started with us or getting started on your own, we want you to be able to follow this framework to be able to see how you can deploy AI quickly. We obviously have a lot of experience working with clients on user discovery, as well as being able to leverage a variety of different API engineering, Salesforce, Twilio, Databricks, etc., to help speed you along. So what we really wanted to do was focus on the deliverables within this workshop framework. But more importantly, we also want to make it accessible. So if you're in a situation where you do not yet have a known or fully defined use case, we can do a UX discovery session starting at about 10K, depending on how we structure the time and your location and things like that. And then if you wanted to engage us even further in an AI workshop, once you have an identified use case, then that would start around 30K. So we really do want to make this accessible. Again, focus on that ROI, get you some ability to see results quickly, and really bring your team along. That's the most critical piece here that we're considering. So, and if you have further questions, I don't see anything in the question box yet, so feel free to email me, ToriFlood@Zennify.com. We will be sending out the recording and the slides from today, as well as links to some of the reporting and external sources that we cited. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic rest of March and St. Patty's Day. And we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.